The mainstream media's portrayal of climate change has become a contentious issue, with some arguing that it is being used as a tool to oppress Christians. While this claim may seem far-fetched, it is essential to examine the intersection of climate change and Christianity to understand the perceived biases. The media's framing of climate change, its impact on Christian values, and the representation of Christian perspectives are all critical aspects to consider. The media's narrative on climate change often emphasizes a scientific consensus and the need for immediate action to mitigate its effects. However, some Christians perceive this narrative as being at odds with their faith. They argue that the media's focus on human-caused climate change undermines the biblical account of creation and the role of God in the natural world. Furthermore, the media's emphasis on individual responsibility and collective guilt for climate change is seen as a form of moral relativism, which contradicts Christian teachings on personal responsibility and sin. The media's portrayal of climate change also often highlights the need for drastic lifestyle changes, such as reducing meat consumption, using public transportation, and decreasing energy consumption. While these changes may be necessary to reduce carbon emissions, some Christians see them as an attack on their values and way of life. For instance, the Christian concept of stewardship, which emphasizes responsible management of God's creation, is often reduced to a simplistic green agenda that prioritizes environmentalism over human needs. This oversimplification can lead to a sense of moral superiority among environmentalists, which can be alienating for Christians who feel that their values are being dismissed or marginalized. Moreover, the media's representation of Christian perspectives on climate change is often limited or distorted. Christians who express skepticism about climate change or its causes are frequently portrayed as science deniers or flat earthers. This caricature ignores the diversity of Christian thought on the issue and fails to acknowledge the legitimate concerns that some Christians may have about the science or the policy implications of climate change. The media's tendency to pit Christians against environmentalists creates a false dichotomy, implying that one cannot be a Christian and care about the environment. This narrative not only misunderstands the complexity of Christian thought but also disregards the long history of Christian environmentalism, which emphasizes the importance of caring for creation as a sacred responsibility. The media's bias against Christian perspectives on climate change can be seen in the way it covers Christian leaders and organizations. For example, when Christian leaders speak out on climate change, their views are often dismissed or ridiculed, whereas secular environmentalists are given a platform to express their opinions without scrutiny. This double standard creates a sense of oppression among Christians, who feel that their voices are being silenced or marginalized in the public debate. Furthermore, the media's focus on the perceived hypocrisy of Christian leaders who do not prioritize climate change ignores the many Christian organizations and individuals who are actively working to address environmental issues. In conclusion, the mainstream media's portrayal of climate change can be seen as oppressive to Christians, not because the media is intentionally targeting Christians, but because it often fails to account for the diversity of Christian thought and experience. The media's framing of climate change, its impact on Christian values, and the representation of Christian perspectives all contribute to a sense of alienation and marginalization among Christians. To create a more inclusive and nuanced public debate, the media must strive to represent a full range of Christian perspectives on climate change, acknowledging both the areas of agreement and the legitimate concerns that Christians may have. By doing so, the media can help to create a more constructive and respectful conversation about climate change, one that values the contributions of all stakeholders, including Christians. Ultimately, this requires a more nuanced understanding of the complex relationships between faith, science, and the environment, and a willingness to engage with the diversity of Christian thought and experience.